Hi, guys. So today's guest, I'm speaking with Ger Duffy, co-founder of Red Fox Digital, a content creation and social media company local here to the west of Ireland. I've had the pleasure of working with Ger myself, one of the best videographers and photographers in the west of Ireland, I'd say. So, Ger, just give the viewers a little bit about your background and how you've ended up launching Red Fox Digital.
Yeah, so Red Fox Digital. So I suppose a bit in the background is that myself, I have 15 years experience in social media marketing, digital marketing, and I have been a professional photographer and videographer for the past about 8 to 9 years. So I've worked with many companies across many industries over the last 15 years, and I feel like I now have multiple skills from those different areas that I can bring to benefit companies. And I suppose the main reason that we started Red Fox Digital was we're consumers of the content as well as creators of the content. And there is an awful lot of, as I like to say, spoofers out there in the digital world and in agencies. And they offer packages that are just off the shelf cookie cutter templates that provide no actual value to the companies. They don't research into companies, about the company's audiences, learn about them. And I feel that's where there's a bit of a gap. Whereas, like, I'm really passionate about what we do. I aim to get the best content out, but we research the companies and we give them custom tailored plans to their specific companies. It's not an off the shelf kind of thing. It's really customized. Yeah, I suppose I just
Let
wanted to bring it that into the market. So yeah.
And let's dig into that. So, do you think, because I would agree, but I'll kind of let you answer that there's just a lack of understanding that when people are hiring you, do they do they almost not understand in a weird way where they think they might be hiring someone to do video or photography, but they're almost not understanding that's a part of it, but they're not getting why they're hiring you. Is there just a lack of understanding of this stuff for most clients? Is that what you're kind of seeing in the marketplace?
100%, yeah. So, along with me going into the clients saying what we can do, I find that there's actually an educational part to it as well about in terms of social, like what is social, what works on social. And a lot of people just think it's just there, it's a platform to put graphics up to sell stuff and people will come run to your business. That's not it. Like, social media is not a selling tool. Well, yes, but it's organically, you have to use it as storytelling. Okay, so you have to sell your experiences. You have to sell, rather than selling a room rate at your hotel, like nobody views that, looks at that graphic and says, I must book that. You have to sell the experience and keep top of mind the whole time on social. It's about consistency. So when that person goes to actually buy a room or something like that, you've got the sale. You're top of mind in their head. And yeah, but going back to your question, it is purely an educational thing as well. People, like, social media is ever evolving, it's changing, the trends change, and that's where we keep on top of things, to keep on top of those trends, to educate our client as well on what to do, what the best practice is.
And how do you find getting the kind of story from from a client? I mean, I'm in the world of brand strategy, but in every, the last 20 years, whether it's brochure, website, social media post, extracting the story from the client is almost the excruciating part. So how do you go about presenting their brand or their story when the client themselves sort of sometimes struggle? Is that the tricky part of getting under the hood of this stuff? Like, how do you create the content itself?
I actually don't think the story is a hard part, because um, it's like businesses are so close to the product, and they just kind of skim over the surface of how the business started, the runnings of the business, all these different things. They skim over the top of it. And when I actually say, stop, let's develop that out further, they start, like, all these stories start coming out, all the struggles, the highs, the lows. And like within 5 minutes of talking about it, you've developed out 2 months worth of content. So I actually think that's a really easy part. And businesses don't actually realize that they're sitting on a gold mine of storytelling that, like, people get really invested in it and people relate with people. So when you start telling people this stuff, you humanize the brand. And that's what it's all about on social. Like, if you humanize your brand and you relate to people, you're going to build a little community. And that's what social is. You foster the community. And then when time comes to sell, that's when you sell.
That's very powerful. It's funny, I guess, when you're so close to it, that because of course every owner feels uncomfortable for most of us anyway. Some people are gifted with this X factor ability to go on TikTok and create a following. But for most of us, we don't like to go on camera or talk about ourselves. And yes, especially if you've built a business, you've almost jumped all the way up to the product or service you're selling, and you don't want to talk about how you got there. But of course, if an external storyteller comes along and goes, pause, like, let's just share a little bit about your journey of how you got there. Of course, like it's so powerful, and that is what people want to see. So do you ever get clients reluctant where they kind of, I don't want to do that, Jer, or because you're the professional helping them along, you can coax them into it? Or is that a tricky part of the relationship?
Yeah, like some people, they don't want to do the storytelling part. They just want to have the content out and sell, sell, sell. And for me, that's not the strategy that we take, or so maybe those clients aren't suited to me. I'm not sure. There's some clients that just don't want to tell the story, but I know that social media is storytelling. So if I can't tell your story, or if I'm just selling, you're not going to get the results. And maybe that's not a partnership that we have. But yes, there's other clients who think I'm just waffling. They're like, you're full of crap. Nobody cares about our story. And I say, trust me, give me 4 weeks. We'll develop out some of these bits of content. And 9 times out of 10, they go boom. There's one client I had recently. They were like, well, we don't really have much of a story ourselves. What else can we do? And we did develop out a few little concepts of how the business was built. But then we were like, right, where are your products? The products are all locally sourced. They were picked and foraged locally. And then we're like, there's a whole thing there that we can build on. So we show the story of, in this particular case, it was food. So it's going from picking it to plate. And then we just started showing this from various angles within the company. And then that's a story. Everything's a story. And some of those reels were the highest viewed reels they've ever put out. So
Storytelling. It's all storytelling, isn't it? You have to get that connection. So is that, you've got story, and then what else are most businesses just doing wrong with social media? What is the aspect of it that you're seeing that most companies are just getting wrong?
yeah, so well, there is the front facing side where like graphics don't really work on social. There you kind of get penalized for using them. So that's where I say the storytelling comes in. But a lot of people don't understand that social media, and Meta in particular, is split in two, right? There's the front facing side, which is the organic content that we've just been talking about that everybody sees. But secondly, probably the most powerful side is Meta ads. And most people think, when they think Meta ads, they're like, oh, I'll boost the post. But boosting a post is a really limited way. You've limited demographics, limited targeting, and everything. Meta ads is a beast, so it is. That's where you can set up really targeted ads. You can split test them against each other, split test reels against graphics, see which performs better, load your budget in behind the other one. You can test long form stuff against short form stuff. But not only that, you can track and set your pixel up on your site. You can see exactly who's buying what, retarget at them. There's just so many endless options. And businesses actually aren't aware that they are literally sitting on this really powerful tool. And when they just click, put €50 behind a boost for a week, it's not near as powerful as Meta ads. So I think that's actually a little gold mine that people don't realize is there at all. And again, it's an educational thing, trying to inform them that.
Yeah. It's funny how I could go on a bit of a digression, but I won't, where, I can't believe, like, Facebook's an old tool and it's been around, and we're now all the way up where everyone's talking about AI. And I'm assuming it'll be the next explosion for the next 2-3 years, and companies will be selling to every other business that you need to use AI and you need to get on AI. And of course, I'm showing my age, but like, websites came along and most businesses just didn't utilize them. Social media came along. Facebook, of course, was the first big one. Most companies didn't really utilize it. Then video, then Instagram. And I'm assuming AI is almost going to be the same thing. These tools get so overwhelming that clients just don't go back to the basics, where the basic tools are still there. Meta ads is still as powerful as ever. And do you have a Facebook account, seeing as you've been in business for 10 years? And yeah, you line up most businesses and they don't. It's amazing. They kind of don't use the usual ones. I was going through some of the copy on your site, and you sort of mentioned a few times that we're not really an agency, we're more of a partner. So can you just put in practice sort of what that means for your clients?
Yeah, so it's kind of going back to the first thing we talked about, really. Like, in my opinion, like, an agency is this big, massive company you go to get a few jobs done. It's an off-the-shelf template. They don't really care about your product's your end goal. They want your money and they'll just give you this template or design thing. So we're your partner. We work with you. We come on site. We shoot the content. We have our monthly and weekly strategy calls. And like, we're not just this faceless company that you see once a month and disappear again. We'll see you next month. No, we're there. We're at the other end of the phone. We'll guide you. We'll help you. We want to see your brand grow and your socials be successful.
And
Yeah.
can you bring us through a usual content piece? So what would be like an example of just not a standard piece of content, but can you just walk us through what a typical project might look like?
So I suppose look, it varies because each company is so different. Like we work with people in hospitality, but finance. So like they're completely different. But for a typical project, like we'll have our discovery calls, and actually before that, I will just do a deep dive on the brand. I'll learn about the brand. I'll go on the site. I'll consume as much as I can. I'll look at your socials. I'll have a look at what's worked for you in the past, what's not working for you. How can we implement our strategies and apply them to the stuff that was successful for you? Once we learn that, we'll have a call. We'll set out our shoot day. So we know that we have these 30 pieces of content for the next month to get. So then when we land up on shoot day, we know we have got X, Y, and Z to do. All the products are ready. We have all the models in if they're needed. We know what lighting we're doing. We know what lenses, what cameras, like everything is down to a T. So we roll in, we get it done, we come back out, we edit that content, turn it around. So what we do is we actually send you a link. On that link is your own custom calendar. You can see the next 30 days or 60 days, depending on what packages you go for. You can actually see what posts are upcoming. You click on that post, you have a read through of it, and you go approve. It's scheduled. So there is comment boxes that you can tweak any stuff if we get stuff wrong. Only natural. We're still learning about the business. We'll probably get a few things wrong, but then that's scheduled and that's done. Then we have another call and we're on to the next month. So it's just this rolling kind of
So the
seamless.
client does get approval if they want it. They go in and can tweak and finalize, approve any of the posts.
Absolutely.
Is 30, is that different packages? Do you post at a certain amount or quantity for different clients, or is 30, do you do
Yeah.
a post a day, or does it?
It all varies depending on the packages and the client. Like there's like it's not about, you don't have to post every day. In fact, it's harder to post every day because then you have to be constantly feeding the algorithm. If you have one post that's underperforming, it's going to affect the next one. So sometimes less is more. And with those type of clients, if we do less, we put bigger production into those pieces, more thought. Whereas some clients, it might be just fast content going out every day and it might just require lower productions on stuff. But it varies. Honestly, it varies. But the algorithm is constantly changing as well. So you have to try and keep on top of that.
Indeed. Is there, what type of clients, what kind of clients do you love working with? Is there a particular kind of client, not even industry, just a type of client that kind of gets it and gets more out of you?
Yeah, I do like being challenged, but I love working with creatives as well. And there's like across all industries that I do, I always seem to just meet creative people who also have an input, like because they know their brand. Like I said, I'm learning as well. I've done my research, but it's great when they kind of collaborate with me on ideas and they're like, well, I thought this, and I was like, well, don't do that, do it this way. And if you have that creative collaboration with people as well, it just makes the content so much better.
And you mentioned building a catalog of content. I also saw that on
Mm-hmm.
the site. So like it sort of said, not just isolated posts, a catalog of content. So
Yeah. So
why is that important for the brand, or what is that kind of add on?
okay, so let's just say we're saying that we just did 30 pieces of content, right? That's yours. You own that content. You're free to use that and all your other marketing, your PR, your website, your print adverts, your signage, whatever it is, you can use it. Most companies only do maybe 1 to 2 photo shoots a year, and they will use those photos to death to the stage that the market is desensitized to them and they're not really familiar, or like they just look over the content. With us, every 4 weeks, you're getting fresh content that is keeping you top of mind, that's relevant to the current season or the promotional offers or events that are going on. And when you have this rolling package of content, you build that up over the year. I mean, you're a powerhouse compared to people who only get 1 or 2 shoots a year. Like it really makes people pay attention. So it's a catalog of stuff. it's your content. You have perpetual use of it, so you can use it whenever and wherever you want. And I think that's a real plus of working with somebody who not just looks after your social media, but also actually captures the content. And like you're getting a great deal out of it, that you have this catalog of stuff that is yours forever.
Indeed, forever. Wow, yes, because I have worked with agencies before where, yeah, you get into licensing, especially in video. So, because I'm assuming even if someone was to hire you as a photographer individually, the cost would almost be on par with contracts if you're working with you over a year. So there'd be, yeah, quite a large catalog of video and photography built up, I'd imagine. So, okay, that's quite interesting. So how would you measure a win for a client? Like when you're working with a client in terms of success when it comes to content creation or social media, how do you measure?
Yeah, so well, obviously, like with social, that you have your insights and your metrics, and if they're performing well, that's a win. Like it's also a win when you take somebody's brand that wasn't looking the best, and you give it this fresh lease of life and give it that lift and stuff. Like that's a win. When you like for me, a win is as well as getting the client to understand what social is, whether or not they only work with us a few months and then go off. If they've learned something and they can go off and apply it themselves, fantastic. Like that's a win. I've just educated someone on what social is. So yeah, you could take wins from all sides.
Fantastic. And last few questions here. Thanks. How did you get into this? I mean, I guess you're well into the world of video and photography now, but how did you land in this world of Red Fox Digital? But where did it all start?
Well, look at it. It's funny actually. Time for a history lesson. In 1912, believe it or not,
Okay.
my great grandfather started a photography company in Swinford in County Mayo, and he ran that. Then my grandfather ran that until his death in 1989. 1989, my dad kept all the cameras, the archive of negatives, photos, everything, kept them in pristine condition. They're in his house now at the minute. He did exhibitions with them, especially in Swinford, because we have images over 100 years old. We have cameras over 100 years old. And then in 2010 or 2011, I bought a camera, and maybe I was subconsciously influenced by my dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather. But sure enough, here I am, fourth generation in photography of Duffy's photography. So that's where the photo side of it came. And I suppose when I came out of school, when I was in school, it was the explosion of Bebo and Facebook and all this stuff. So it was only natural that I was growing up in this digital age and learning about it. And I always found it interesting how you can communicate with people on it, just around the world. But sure enough, just the two worlds just emerged eventually. Photo obviously led
Yeah.
into video, and then digital. And it just all came on. So it feels like a natural progression.
It's funny. I could almost hold the mirror up to you where, as you said, I've seen some of your stuff and I follow you in social media and I've never heard that story. So it's funny how that's an amazing story. And yet, because it's yours, you've probably, I won't put that up. And yet, that's an incredible. I don't know if you've got photographs of your great grandfather and grandfather and father using a camera, but what a post that would be if you were like, I'm a fourth generation photographer. So
And there's me preaching to people about telling them their story. And I think you're the first person that I've told that to in the digital landscape. So, pot
isn't
kettle
that it's
black.
exactly but there it is. I think that's a great lesson to kind of leave it on almost where that's it. It's so hard for people to tell their own stories because why am I interesting? Why am I unique? I'm just trying my best. And of course, when someone comes in with the skill of, a photographer or storytelling, I suppose that it's like, no, everyone has a story. Everyone, no matter who they are, has a story. I just have to get it out of you. And I guess the right questions. And of course, that's the content people want to see, the humanizing story of a business and a brand. So that's fantastic. Lastly, Jer, if a company is on the fence about social media, they still just don't get it. Maybe they see it as a cost rather than an investment. What would you say to them? How would you kind of explain to a company that social media is still one of the powerhouses of marketing?
Well, first of all, head to redfoxdigital.ie and fill out the free consultation form, and I'll really explain it to you. But no, look at if you don't believe that social media is a powerhouse, like just look around you. If you're in a room, look at everyone who's on their phone. They're all consuming. Everyone's consuming every minute of the day. And if you're not there in front of them, you're missing out. Newspapers are dead. Radio's dead. Um, it's social, it's digital, and the proof is all around you. So yeah.
If people wanted to find you, where are they going?
Yes, so redfoxdigital.ie, that's just the source place. You will get all our links to our socials, emails, everything there, everything about us. You can see some case studies we've done. Yeah, and I also just want to actually give a shout out to Joanne because she is my partner in it. She's also the co-founder. She's also my girlfriend. We have a child together and she's absolutely fantastic. And she will be looking after a lot of the clients on a day-to-day basis. They'll be talking to her mainly and me. I'll be out on the road shooting and stuff. So she's as big, if not bigger part of this than I am.
She's the brains behind the operation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Jer, fantastic, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much, Paul.